Welcome to our reading of the book of Matthew. We are in chapter 4. Before we completed chapters 1 through 3, now we'll be doing chapter 4 and on. Here, Jesus had already been baptized in chapter 3. Now in chapter 4, he's been taken up and tempted by the devil. Jesus was out in the desert 40 days and 40 nights. And the devil, which isn't necessarily a person, this is much debated, but here the devil, the Greek is diabolos, which means the evil one, the persecutor. It can mean many different things, not necessarily Satan himself. I also want to turn your attention to the word took. Also the word that we had before in chapter 2, where the angel told Joseph to take Jesus to Egypt, and they used the word, the lema paralambano, again, beside gotten. Jesus is not being taken by force, nor was he before when he was taken into Egypt to be hidden from Herod. This is where most people get the negative, associate this word with negativity, because the devil took Jesus up to be tempted. But Jesus went willingly, unlike his arrest, where he was arrested and forced and taken away. So paralambano, beside gotten. Sometimes it will be used as received. Here it's being as took, passive tense. In chapter 3 and chapter 2, it's take. After he is taken up to the mountain, Jesus says, "You shall worship the Lord your God and serve him only." So Jesus is not tempted by the devil. After this, he passes his test and moves on with his ministry. Again, as you can see here, a lot of Old Testament reference. Even Matthew's writing, even the words that he chooses to use are from the Septuagint, which makes sense. But they're not in any way modernized. Some of them are, some of them are not. But here in Matthew, most of the words are not modernized to his time period. He actually uses the exact same words from the Septuagint here in his gospel. We read of the first disciples, and we read of his first ministry and how he begins his ministry until we get into chapter 5, where we have the Beatitudes. Here, Jesus is reassuring the people that begin to follow and believe him versus the people that are evil. And the differentiation between the two, that the hunger will be filled, there will be no more tears, but the people that are evil now, who are rich, will be poor, and what they have will be taken from them. They laugh now, but they'll weep later. Not that being rich or laughing or having a good time is a bad thing, but here he's contrasting the people that suffer because of the people who are rich. Namely, the higher elements, we would call them or refer them as the system, which is mostly comprised of Pharisees, much like our government. I want to turn your attention to this word earth. And you'll see earth here, and here you'll see world. Now this word earth basically means more dirt or land. It's not earth like we use earth, like planet Earth. We do use the word earth when we talk about dirt, but this here is more earth or land, meaning your property. Another word that they use is okumene, which means inhabited earth or inhabited world. It could mean the inhabited world as far as the Romans are concerned, or the inhabited world as far as Jews are concerned. More worldwide, but a specific group of people. Here, when they say earth, they're speaking more relative to them, more localized. But then they'll also use this word world. Now you figured earth and world would be the same thing, but here, this world is actually cosmos. Cosmos is a word that we Americans most likely associate with the earth, what we call the earth. A big, hard, rocky circle that's floating around in space. What God inhabited and gave light to. That's what we associate with as earth, but they use the word cosmos. So when you think entire world, think cosmos. When you see the word earth, think of dirt or land or something more localized. And that word in between, okumene, they use that in when they have to go register and they have to go down to Jerusalem. That's where they use the word inhabited earth. It's only used one time in Matthew chapter 24. After this, you'll see the word heavens and earth. You'll see these two mentioned time and time again, always together, heavens and earth. What this most likely means, and is highly debated, but most likely what it means is they're surrounding. The heaven and earth of America. We have the Constitution. We have our way of life. Canada has a different way of life. They have a different heaven and earth. Maybe similar, but this is referring to the Jewish heaven and earth. The temple, Jerusalem. This is their center of their world. You have to understand you're reading something that was created 2,000 years ago, written 2,000 years ago, and the verbiage and the mindset is of things that were 2,000 years ago. The law, the temple, rabbinic traditions, as we would call them today. So you have to put yourself in the mindset of what they were talking about. So their heaven and earth, when you hear of this, they're talking about their world, their Jewish world. Mostly what it's referenced to. That's mostly what the author is referring to. Their heaven and earth, their Jewish world. As we go on, you'll see Jesus talking to people about the law. You shall not commit murder. You shall not commit adultery. What he's doing is he's taking the Old Testament and explaining to them the importance of these lessons. Not necessarily all the law, but the core, which will later become Jesus' commandment. As you can see right here, you shall love your neighbor, which sums up everything secondary to what he said was the greatest commandment of all, and that is to love God with all your heart and soul. And then that will bring us into chapter 6, which is our next video.